Hey there, guys. Today is my lunar birthday, so I thought it would be fun to share with you the new moon ritual that I have planned for this month that actually I already carried out this month. Um, Ever since I got serious about being in tune with the moon in my life, um, all of these beautiful, amazing rituals have come to me just like super easily and naturally, and like magic. Like what I mean, whatever it is that I'm needing to work on, I have been noticing that the moon is just there in her sign, in her phase, in whatever, just working it for me. So great gratitude for that. But this month, so new moons are all about new beginnings. And this new moon in Virgo is in my rising sign, and so my first house, which goes like double for me for new beginnings. Like, and I don't. I feel like this is a big deal new beginning. This is like my New Year's. This is like New Year, new me kind of thing. The moon has come around all my houses. It's ready to go. And so I mean usually I will do like a releasing ceremony on the full moon, and bring something in on the new moon, but only like when I felt like it, or when I was called to do something, I guess. I just wasn't very consistent. But this summer, like it's probably starting in April, I've been really paying attention to the moon in my life and how we're interacting together, and of course, heeding the guidance of my matron goddess, and that has been something that she has been just guiding me to do, is having a more meaningful, consistent discipline in my working with the moon. So to give a little background about how the how part of my ritual developed, I've been working with this spirit since January, and I will do like a whole nother video about this guy because he's a really interesting energy. Has me doing all kinds of like lifestyle changes and projects. It's a little demanding in a good way though. My life is just I like I said, I'll do another video about him. But one of the projects that he had me on this year, that he has me on this year, is this booklet, like a 12-step program, which has been fascinating for me, especially because that's not something that I would have thought that I needed to do. And the goal for me here with the 12 steps is not necessarily just like stopping a habit or an addiction, like not just like stopping drinking or whatever. I mean, that is a short-term goal while I'm doing the steps, but the real goal here is addressing the root cause of why one would want to engage in a substance or even just a behavior that numbs whatever the real problem is. And so in doing the 12 steps, these last 8 months, I've been realizing that it's just a kind of a psychological point of view in doing shadow work, which I'm very familiar with, but haven't really done it in this kind of like linear way. And being a Virgo rising, like I'm all about the workbook, and that's like totally an effective way for me to do my shadow work. So what does this have to do with my new moon ritual this month, is I'm on step 7 right now. Well, I'm about to be on step 8. Like this is the culmination of my step 7, my talisman ritual. So step 7 is asking God to remove our shortcomings. And of course, that's another thing that has been really kind of fascinating and challenging for me, is to come at the program, which is, I mean, pretty clearly Christian, from a pagan point of view, and to still see how the steps work, regardless of how you understand deity to be for you. So, step 7, asking God to remove my shortcomings. So, what I started out with in this was like, I knew that, and this sort of happened like organically. I didn't plan it this way, but the step 7 coincided with my my personal like first house new moon this year, and turned into what my ritual is going to be. And so here's like the ritual. Like, we'll just get to it. Here's the ritual. Firstly, I wrote a page of all the shortcomings and character defects, whatever you want to call them, the things I want to get rid of, the undesirable stuff. I wrote, well, technically, okay, like one page back in front, and I wrote at the top, Kali Muah, please remove, and then whatever the thing was that I wanted her to remove from me. And that was based on my step 4 moral inventory. So it was very thorough. And after I did that, I wrote a separate page back in front with the inverse of whatever the shortcoming was. So I'm an open book here. I'll share a couple, like, as an example. So, like, something that I said, please remove things like my feelings of self-pity for not being nurtured or respected by people that I felt owed me that, or my approval-seeking habits and tendencies, my emotional reaction to judgment and intolerance. So these kinds of things that I don't want, and sometimes didn't even know were there. I had to dig deep to find them, but they were there. And so I wrote these things to please remove. And then I wrote the opposite of those things, as if, like, I'm calling in this so that the other thing doesn't exist anymore. And another really interesting thing that I found was I would get, like, the positive statement, I would get a lot of the same of one positive statement that was corresponding to more than one negative thing. So, like, a lot of the things that I asked to be removed ended up being replaced with things that were remarkably similar to, I call in the ability to alchemize strong emotions and reactions toward a solution that I want to see, or the ability to decide how I expend and exchange energy at any given time. Like, I feel like, or stepping into my own authority and needing no one else's approval. So I found, like, a lot of those things with almost the exact same wording, and it was the positive of several different problems that I didn't think had anything to do with each other, but the thing that would solve them would be the same thing. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's where I was on the planning of my ritual, and I thought, like, okay, so I have an idea of what I want, but I didn't really know where to go from there. I wasn't stressing about it, but I didn't really know where to go. And at that point, just almost right away, I got invited to a fire walk by a woman I greatly admire and love. And her company is called Igniting Spirit, and she puts on fire walks throughout the course of the year. Typically, I'll go to probably 3 fire walks or so a year, and during these fire walks, she has an optional talisman ceremony. And if you in this respect, in this ceremony, the talisman is an object that is imbued with your intention of letting go of something that you don't want and claiming what you do want for yourself. And I was like, perfect, perfect. This is what I wanted. Like, this is like the perfect ritual or ceremony to carry out the intentions that I have for myself, to just like step into the best version of myself in this new year for me. So after I wrote the pages, I turned each of those prayers to Kali to remove the things, and then calling in the things. I turned each of those things into prayer ties. And if you're not familiar with prayer ties, they are little bundles of tobacco that hold your prayers. And when they are burned, your prayers are released, so that the spirits can answer your prayers. It's largely a Native American practice. I don't know that if any other culture does it, but so the next thing that I did was I made these white prayer ties for all the things that I am wanting removed. And I used white for the north, and for death, the things that I want to die to. And then these yellow prayer ties are the things that I'm calling in. Yellow for the east, new beginnings, birthing something new. And if you want to know more about prayer ties, maybe I'll make a little video in the future, a little informational, maybe a little how-to or something. If you're interested in that, just let me know in the comments. So I've got all these prayer ties for what I'm dying to and what I'm bringing in. And then in the middle here, I have a special pouch with a manifesting document in it. After I was making all these prayer ties, I had a really clear idea of who I wanted to choose to be now. I have a really clear vision of myself, and I have a really clear intention of stepping into the version or the timeline that I want to choose for myself. So I wrote in my manifesting documents here a really clear vision of myself, being who I'm choosing to be now, doing what I'm choosing to do, and just coming at life in a different way. And once I on a side note, once I even started the process of letting things go and bringing things in, like this, it took a while. It didn't like just take one day or anything. But after I did that, I started noticing that my reactions, okay, real quick pro tip about prayer ties. So when you pray into your tobacco and then you put them in the little bundles, for me, I do not tie up the bundles until I have felt the prayer. I've felt and embodied the emotion, the essence of the thought that I'm having, and it I breathe it into the tobacco, I transfer it into the tobacco, and I feel it. I do not, I will not just sort of lip service a prayer. I feel like it doesn't work that way for me, and I feel when I can feel the prayer on in my breath and it transfers into the tobacco, I really feel like these are contained, captured little prayers, and so when they burn, they'll be released, and the spirits can help these come to pass. But so the manifesting document, I wrote out and I put in here with some other offerings, and it's ready to go. And like I said, before, it's not even burned yet, and I already feel like different reactions to something that I feel like I would normally do differently, like in the past. Just like thought processes, directly having to do with the prayers that I put in there. I don't even have like the same initial reaction to things or the same like thought process about something. I already feel it. I already felt it working on me. And so the very last part of my ritual is the fact that the firewalk isn't until a little more than a week after the new moon. But I want to harness the energy of this new moon. Like all the planets are there, and like all my intuition is there. I don't know. I just feel like things are aligning, and I need to leverage that energy. So I wanted to use that, and I was like, how can I also leverage the energy of a big ceremony that involves other people? So the last thing that I did for this was I asked this stick to not only be a talisman for me, but to be an effigy, to transfer the prayers and to hold them for me. And I kind of put a spell on it to release early, to release on the new moon, but in physical reality to hold my prayers until the firewalk. And so kind of to travel from the moment of the firewalk where these prayers are released like physically in normal reality, to sort of fast forward to that point and like bring it together to now, so that in my experience I would experience the release on the new moon, and that my effigy would hold the energy outside of time and space in between now and the firewalk. I don't know if I'm using the right words to communicate that clearly, but I know how it's working in my head, in my spirit, in my heart. I know how it's working, and it's working. It's already worked. I already released the energy for this. I'm already receiving the benefits of it. I feel like a new person already, and I'm excited to burn this at the firewalk, especially because I don't feel like I have to wait. Like, it's already happened. And so also with an effigy, I journeyed to the spirit of the effigy, and I asked, what it wanted for, like, as an offering, and if I needed to know anything. And here it is in all its beauty. And yeah, so I feel like that kind of sums it up. That's kind of an abrupt ending, but that's my new moon ceremony that I'm really excited about for my lunar birthday. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments. How about you? What are you doing for your new moon ceremony this month? I would love to hear it. Thanks for listening.